Good afternoon. I'm going to share with you not necessarily what you might know of Mitel already. I know a great many of you are familiar with Mitel, our history and our offerings today. But I'd like to share with you some of the vision and direction for Mitel as we go forward and as we see both the opportunities and the challenges in our industry over the next, let's say, over the next 3 to 5 years. As I talk about Mitel, one of the key points that I end up emphasizing when I introduce the company to people is this coming together of mobile, cloud, and enterprise. Now, we talk about this a lot in Mitel because it's the basic structure of our organization. It's how we've brought assets and capabilities together to address customers' needs. But also it's how we see the industry and how we see the emergence of unified communications and business communications in general. Mobile, cloud, and enterprise coming together to dramatically change the way in which we behave in the workplace on a day-to-day basis and change how we interact with our customers. We see this in every aspect of day-to-day life. Perhaps we see it more in our personal lives than we actually do in our business lives. If you think about the tools that you use or your family uses to communicate, video, chat, social media, those are all built into our day-to-day activities. As I look around the room, everyone's using their mobile phone. Now, some of you are using it to keep in contact with work. Some of you are using it for all sorts of things. I don't know what you're using it for. But your phone is something that is such a personal, an intimate part of the way that you live and communicate. When it isn't built into what we do in the workplace, it makes you wonder, are we really making the most of an opportunity here? And when I say built in, I don't just mean, I can call people at work. I can make a voice call to people at work. I mean, can I incorporate mobility and the storage of assets in the cloud into my everyday working environment so that irrespective of where or when I need data, I need tools, I need access to other people within the organization, I have that access and I have it seamlessly. And that is a key attribute here. Whether you're sitting at a desk, whether your job ever involves a desk, you should have the same capabilities, you should have access to the same tools, the same infrastructure. And that is something we really have seen move ahead in leaps and bounds. I was looking at the timeline on the board upstairs as we were sitting at lunchtime, and you could see, a stretch of time representing Mercedes' timeline and what has happened during that period. And right over on the right-hand side, you had the launch of Facebook in 2004, the iPhone in 2008. Think for a couple of minutes about how that has changed everything that we do and how that set of experiences is now bleeding over into how we communicate in the workplace, how we share information in the workplace, and how our new employees expect to be addressed. I think that's one of the key things to remember here. We at Mitel, we have desk phones. We have a great business selling and delivering desk phones. Our latest models have mobile integration. However, there are whole generations and geographic regions where the concept of putting a desk phone in front of somebody is actually insulting. You go to the Nordics and you'll find that most offices don't have desk phones and haven't had for a number of years now. You go talk to millennials and they don't want to have voice telephone calls with people. They're using different tools in different communication paradigms. So we're looking for how we can make seamless the combination of mobile technologies, cloud technologies, and enterprise communications, because there's been a great deal of value built into your current enterprise communication solutions, and we don't want to give up that value. We also don't want to force change where change isn't necessary and change doesn't support your business objectives. The world is moving fast, but I think it's easy for us. I come from, my own background is coming from the mobile aspect of the business. I've spent many years working with mobile carriers, and just the last couple of years working more closely with the cloud and enterprise side of our business. And sometimes we can be taken with the technology. We think everyone's moving at the same speed that we're moving. We think that everybody grasps all of these concepts, and we talk over people's heads. I remember some of my first presentations talking as someone in the mobile space to an enterprise audience. It was a chain of 4- and 3-letter acronyms. No one knew what the hell I was talking about. And as a mobile industry, I think there's a great tendency to assume everyone's moving at the speed of the next technology. But in truth, enterprises, our businesses, invest 5 and 10 years at a time. And it's not all about the latest hype, the best idea that we've heard on the internet this week. It's about making considered investment decisions and being able to use the best of what's developing from the internet. And so fast is as fast as it needs to be for your business. Everybody doesn't move at the same speed. We have a customer, and we highlighted it recently in our Mitel Next event in Paris. We had Hub One from France take the stage and talk a little bit about what they were doing. Now, they're what I would say on the leading edge in terms of both customer and perhaps they do some interesting things as a channel also. They create vertically integrated Internet of Things solutions. They're responsible for cargo tracking in airports, Charles de Gaulle being one of them. And they really are using the latest technologies. They're taking the best of what's available today, voice-activated control systems so that the forklift driver doesn't have to take their hands off the wheel in order to use the sensor technology in their cargo handling. All of these things really on the cutting edge. And it's tempting sometimes to think that everyone is moving at that speed. But I would also say 2 weeks ago, I was meeting with a catering distributor in the United States, 40 locations throughout the US, and their entire dispatch system is paper-based. We were talking about digital transformation. They still don't know the phone numbers of the guys who are driving their trucks. So when we say that things are moving fast, we have to be careful not to leave our customers behind in assuming that everyone's moving at the same speeds, has the same drivers, or even wants to get to the same endpoint. There's such a thing as appropriate technology. And, you know, as we talked about cloud earlier, we have a great business. We work with our partners on cloud solutions, but not every problem demands a cloud solution. And there are lots of opportunities where on-premise implementation, for survivability reasons or for other practical business reasons, is a perfectly good solution. And forcing someone to move to a technology that they don't need doesn't serve any purpose. And I think one of the points that we try to bring here about speed is, are we moving fast enough to keep up with the industry? Or are you moving just for the sake of adopting new technology? The world is slow. As I said earlier, we probably use more advanced technology in our private lives than we do in our business lives. There's a crossover there and a danger that comes with it. How many of you have experienced the phenomena of shadow IT, of your millennial staff deciding what tools they're going to use for themselves, using something outside of the corporate environment because it's easier, it's quicker. I'll use Dropbox, I can share files that way. Yes, but the people you invite to your Dropbox your Dropbox group may well not be employees of the company anymore. And when they cease being an employee of the company, the HR department is not going to cut off their Dropbox access. Things like that cause data leakage out of businesses, cause critical damage to businesses. Now, an IT department can try to stamp out that sort of thing, but really, you need to learn from what people are trying to do. If they're trying to use a different tool to do the job, then maybe you should be giving them something equivalent, because they're clearly demanding something other than what they have today. This is an interesting statistic, and I think it talks to how quickly we need to move as an industry. The names are changing very quickly. Uber wasn't there a very short time ago, and yet you look at how it's transformed a whole segment of business or industry. You look at a company like Tesla, you look at a company like Airbnb. Not every one of them is going to succeed, but what they have done is transformed the way that people communicate and incorporate communication into the way that they do business. You look at how social media is incorporated into the experience of something like Airbnb. You look at how the personal recommendation becomes a marketing tool and a key asset of a TripAdvisor or an Airbnb. And you see that, yes, there's something in there that's a specific business model. It's disrupting a traditional business, but it's also tapping into the digital transformation and the learning that social media have brought to us. And these new businesses that are coming to the Fortune 500, they are knocking out existing businesses. Traditional, relatively safe industries have been radically disrupted. One of the things that recent political events have shown us is that there's social disruption as well as business disruption. What do you think is going to be the impact of the self-driving car? Self-driving vehicles are going to dramatically change the employment prospects for whole segments of the population. And they're going to change the way that people work and what their jobs are. And getting ahead of that and understanding that is something that we in this industry need to be thinking carefully about. Because if you change the way that people communicate and work, you change where they work, and you change the tools they need to be effective in that environment. Winners adapt to the market. I think that's obvious, but sometimes winners are the people who may not be, we're not very few of us here in this room are West Coast startups. But what we can do is learn from what they do. They are on the leading edge, they're on the cutting edge, they break new ground. We can learn from that, and we can use the best of what they do to follow through and create offerings and solutions that use their experience without us having to take the major risks that they've taken in creating their businesses. So we do try to look carefully at how these players are using technology, and in particular in areas like the Internet of Things. None of us can afford to dabble in every area, but we can be informed about what is possible and what is happening in the industry, and that's what we in Mitel really focus on. The lack of a mobile strategy, I think, is something that it still shocks me to some extent. The number of large companies I go to see who do not have an aggregated means to monitor and control mobile spend is quite shocking. And the inconsistency of service that they receive on an international basis when they have different entities in different countries going to different carriers who provide different service packages. When you look at a Fortune 50 company, as we've been doing recently, and realize that they have anything up to 3 carrier relationships in every major country that they do business in, and that the only way they manage their mobile spend is through the expense control policy, you realize that there are tens of millions of pounds being put out there and spent without proper controls over it. And that is it's a wasted opportunity, but it's also, it tells you that there isn't thought being given to how mobile is woven into the fabric of the business. But our workforce is changing. Their expectations are changing. I said earlier, in some places, if you give people a desk phone, they wouldn't know what to do with it. They might not even know how to log on to it. So how do you address this? How do you create an environment where some of your workforce are going to be mobile oriented, some of them are millennials, some of them are going to want to stay with a traditional set of technology that they've been trained on and they feel comfortable with. And that is really where the blend of cloud and premise, mobile and fixed line is important as you move forward, so that you can bring all of these things forward together and not alienate any part of your workforce. The other thing that we'd highlight, and perhaps this is one of the areas where we think we're differentiating from our competitors in our outlook, is that, you know, suits. I think in the US that's kind of a denigrating term, suits. But we really address with UC an awful lot this particular group here. People who sit at a desk, people who use a desktop device, perhaps a computer and a phone, but who, you know, that's their natural environment. And we tend to fit into that ourselves because that's who we are. But the truth is, when you look at the global workforce, the majority are people who are either information workers or service workers. They're in the field, they're not in an office. They're behind a counter, they're not in an office. And for those people, mobility is a natural aspect of what they do. So putting something into your desktop application suite is kind of meaningless if you have no desktop application suite. It means something if you can improve the quality of the experience on the mobile, you make it the best that it can possibly be, and you integrate it with their day-to-day activities so that they're not having to come out of one application to put numbers and data and user credentials into a different application every time they move from one activity to another. So we see an underserved market, which is unified communications for mobile-centric users. Today, well, this basically is what the unified communications environment looks like on mobile devices. You have a set of UC apps, and you work with people in different companies, or you work with subcontractors, and you find that one group of people use MyCollab, another use WhatsApp, another use Skype for Business, and you end up with this collection of unified communications apps. It's not a matter of one of them being better and one being worse. You just have a lot of them. It happens. If you communicate across organizational boundaries, it's a natural consequence. And of course, you have the native mobile communications applications on the device. Your messaging, your video calling, and your voice calling. Here's the unfortunate statistic. We all know that UC apps are a mandatory part of every request for proposal in business. But the actual usage can be pitifully low. People like them, they use them, and then they forget to use them. The phone rings, they answer the phone. They don't answer the app. And while there are some things in iOS 10 that improve this, and there is some benefit there, you still end up seeing that these apps drain batteries and generally degrade the user experience on the device. Messaging and chat isn't seamlessly integrated typically between the UC applications and the native device. And basically, it's not a great user experience. Now, our view is to take this and really center a lot of these experiences on the technology of mobile networks, whether that's deployed in a carrier network or in an enterprise cloud. We don't think that's important. We can use that technology to address, we can use the carrier technologies of IP communications, the VoIP technologies that we're all familiar with in the enterprise space. We can extend those into the mobile domain. And that's something that we're actively doing at the moment. So creating a single-centric experience around mobile IMS that takes your existing connectivity to the PSTN, your desk phone, and your mobile device and gives them all equal and consistent access to call control and enhanced services. So as we go forward, we see native enterprise communications enabled by the green button at the bottom of the phone. When you want to make a call using your PBX's shortcodes, when you want to access the services of your UC platform, you don't go to a separate app, you use them natively through the dialer. It gives you centralized control over costs, it gives you a better user experience, it gives you better battery life, hell, it even gives you better voice quality. It enables you to eliminate those UC applications and focus instead on business applications. The ERP system, the human resource system, the travel management system, instead of cluttering your device with a combination of UC for collaboration and business applications overlapping in the same space. The other area that we've been highlighting a lot, it's coming from the carrier, but we think it's also something that every enterprise needs to be thinking about, is the use of voice over Wi-Fi and how you can do that to contain costs and improve in-building coverage for mobile experience. We know that you can't force a carrier to build out infrastructure in your buildings, in your campus. We can't force the carrier to put coverage in your basement. But Wi-Fi and good quality Wi-Fi implementation, I'm sure our friends from Cisco were talking about this earlier today. I think it is crucial to most businesses that we realize Wi-Fi is a key part of delivering all of the data services in the enterprise, and voice is one of those services. And as the mobile device uses that Wi-Fi connectivity, you minimize the cost of your mobile service and you greatly improve your employees' experience. We talked a little bit earlier about social networking and how that affects the way that people communicate. Collaboration and communications is changing. Apparently, it changes dramatically with generation. Different people have different styles of communication and they use different social networks based on their age group, based on their prior experience. And so we have traditionally had, as Mitel, we've had our MyCollab offering, which addresses collaboration. But we found that there was feedback from different segments of the market, in particular millennial users, who were looking for something a little different, and he kept referencing an open source tool that was being very commonly used called Slack. And they started questioning, why didn't we have something like Slack that provided you with this persistent threaded communication that allowed you to reduce the volume of email and have searchable threads on different topics. So we created a solution, My Team, that takes that concept and integrates it with voice and chat and video communications. So you can, within a single application on your desktop or on your mobile device, incorporate the characteristics of a conferencing solution together with this threaded, persistent storage of shared content. So if I start a discussion about a topic and I share a document and somebody else gives some editorial comments, I invite somebody else into that conversation. They have all the prior history. They understand what chat we had before, and they get up to speed quickly. And you can invite people from outside of your company, outside of your firewall, using a web interface that allows easy access to this solution. So you can address people who maybe are contracting for you, something that's now called the gig culture. They work for you for one project, they don't work for you again. You can extend your collaboration tools to those people, but have secure control over that and ensure that when they're not working for you anymore, They don't have access to that shared content history. So as we move forward, we're not saying that one solution is better than another. We're saying that different parts of your organization have different needs and different tools that they'll want to work with. Embedded communications. I talked earlier about the boots and uniforms, the people who are out there in the field. We use the example here of field service engineers because we've collaborated with a partner in the field service automation space as our proof of concept customer. And the concept here is to take your unified communications capabilities and embed them within specific applications, workflow applications that are used in the field. So you take a field service technician. Well, what do? They get scheduled. They travel, you want to know where they are. They want to have access to inventory, what parts are available. And perhaps they want to be able to consult with other people when they go to site and they discover something isn't working. And how do they want to consult? Well, maybe voice, but often they want to show people, hey, look, I've got one of these. I haven't seen this before. What should I do? Now, the expert that's going to help them probably isn't in the office. He's probably out on another site. So what we've done is take skills-based routing in the call center, embedded communications in the form of APIs that allow our UC services to be embedded into a SaaS application, and allow someone using a single application on a mobile device to have access to all of the facilities of their enterprise and able to find an expert within the company when they need them, and also for that person to be trackable and traceable so that we get an Uber-like experience of their arrival on site. So you know the engineer isn't an hour away or coming within this 3-hour window, but he's actually driving down the road towards you right now and you need to go to the gate and meet him at the gate. So we see huge opportunities here to take either your on-prem or your cloud-based UC and PBX solutions and embed the value that you've built into those into new applications, and those don't have to be applications you develop yourself. Those SaaS applications, we're working with SaaS application vendors across multiple industry segments. We think this is a growing area. We think this is an area that really can have an impact in terms of making your field workforce more effective and more successful. So finally, I'll just draw together what we position as simple choices. They're not simple for you, I know, but we like to think that we offer in the form of on-premise and cloud solutions, alternatives to you that allow you to move between deployed and cloud solutions as and when you need to and as and when you want to. With my collab and my team, we give you different options on models for collaboration within your business. With our contact center, we're increasing the value of the contact center by introducing omni-channel capabilities, by adding social media integration, and by making the contact center embeddable within vertical applications, something that we think is pretty unique in the industry. Of course, we have our devices, and we continue to inject new value into the device market. The recent integration of mobile devices with using Bluetooth with our desktop sets recognizes the fact that you do use your mobile in conjunction with that desktop device, but shouldn't you have the same sort of experience when you dock with your desktop device that you have when you dock with your car? And our integration with software, both from competitors and from other people, we work with a wide range of software vendors, and we hope to extend that as we move forward, because we really do think that the future is about linking together these software applications and creating the best possible experience for communication and collaboration within the business. Thank you.